territory, and I'm really concerned with what I've seen going on, especially the last few weeks with what Mr. Roy has done. He's definitely underwater, and I know what being underwater is, because we were stuck at our family farm when they had the worst flood of the century that ever came through. And I remember I was 9 years old, the Red Cross helicopter landing in Mr. Tippett's field to check on us because my mom was so worried. And I remember my dad going down to get all our cows and the bulls out of the river bottom, and Mr. Tippett with his yellow slicker like this scared all of them back into the river. watching the electrical line, or so we thought, pop, and my dad is in the water, just to discover that, thank God it wasn't electric, it was the telephone. So we were like, and at that time I was 9 years old. So this is very important to me, what happens. I live in my grandparents' house in Austin that they bought in 1949 where my mom was raised. I will be retiring on Lane Valley when I get to retirement age, and I will be building a house on our farm. There's 4 kids, there's only 1 house. Dad's like, you're not getting the house. I was like, just give me some property so I can build. What's so important to me though is some of the stuff that Joe has said. We have to really take care of our community. We have to know what's going on in Austin and what's going on in Washington. We have to make sure that if you are on Medicare or Medicaid, it is funded and you have access to it. We have to make sure that if you're in a rural area, when I was 5 years old on Mother's Day, I mean, we're a good German family. You have lunch and then play cards and dominoes, and 2 hours later you have dessert. So during those 2 hours, we were all out on the swing set, my brothers and my cousins. I'm the last of 4. There's 11 years from top to bottom. They're swinging and they're hitting that peach tree with their hand and they're jumping out, and I'm like, 5 years old. Do the math, 5, 17. So everybody goes in, and I decided I'm going to take a try at it, because if I'm successful, then I'm going to say, look at me. I swung. I remember hitting the peach tree with my foot. I was mad it was my foot, not my hand. I jumped out. I landed in a gopher hole. So my Mother's Day gift to my mom was a broken arm. There was not a doctor on call in Kerrville. There was no hospital in Comfort. We lived in Leeder. We got to Fredericksburg and they said, well, it'll be a 2 to 3 hour wait because we've got to call them in. My mom and dad said, she's packed in ice, we're taking her home. I was in agony the whole time because it was dislocated and broken. If we would have had telemedicine, access to telemedicine, my dad as a coach with all of his Red Cross and all of his lessons in injuries could have put it back to where I would have been less pain. We're fighting for the same things. We're fighting for rural Texas. We're fighting for education. We're fighting for our kids. We're fighting for you and your health benefits. But we're also fighting for infrastructure, not just roads and bridges. We all know that they're bad. But we're fighting for high-speed internet so that we can have rural communities thriving and people moving in here so they can telecommute to work, so that they can bring their families back home. They can buy a house. They can spend their money in town so our businesses are thriving. And their kids can take those classes. Where I grew up in Leeder, we couldn't take anything on the internet because we couldn't download the videos because the internet was not fast enough. And then telemedicine. There was over 1,000 hospitals closed in the last 2 years in rural Texas. And that means that we have people going without aid and assistance if their daughter decides to break her arm on Mother's Day. Or like a friend of mine, his dad was rolled by a tractor. I mean, or just a car accident, when there's not aid available for you. So whether it's on the state level or whether it's on the federal level, we're fighting for the same things that all of us need. The things that I'm worried about my dad at 83 years old when he goes down to the farm and stays the night. And I'm like, you didn't call me. Well, I haven't gotten out of the field yet, and it's 6 a.m. in the morning because he likes to work when it's cool at night with the headlights. And I'm like, well, I just drove from Austin because I never got a phone call, and I was scared to death. It's things that we have to, people in urban areas take for granted. high-speed internet, good education, their kids being able to take the classes, being able to go 5 minutes to a doctor. This isn't accessible to us here, and I want it to be accessible to us here. So the most important things to my grassroots campaign, and we're the same, I'm funding part of it, we've already got donations also. I have, if you'd like to make a donation, I have an envelope and report everything, so if you bring me a $1 bill, I'm gonna stick it in an envelope and I'm gonna put your name on it, because everything goes into the FEC and is reported correctly, and we don't accept any PAC money. But we want rural Texas to have good health care, good education, good infrastructure. We want you to have the same possibilities that everyone in urban in San Antonio and Austin has. So I'm gonna hang around and answer questions if you have any. We passed around a sign-up sheet. I would love to get you on our email list. We don't pester you once a week. Maybe we'll give you an email. Last week we had a blip. Everything they loaded up for the next 3 weeks went out in 3 days. I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work, because I get everything that y'all get, and I'm like, I'm already getting everybody else, all the congressional candidates, all the presidential candidates.